Iceland. We are here. It is the middle of the night in Iceland, and we're going to use the drone here to take off from north of the eruption site and head south and get as close as we can. You can actually see it in the distance there. So we've got Johan as the pilot today. A little bit different situation than this morning's flight where I was controlling it. We've got some other issues at play here. So we're going to have Johan at the controls. The remote operation thing's not an option today, but we'll have it up on another day where I can be at the controls. And again, this is all made possible by our good friends at NatureEye who provide the technology for this. So we're going to go ahead and get started here and see how it goes. So we're looking, should be looking south there, the eruption in the distance. And we're going to make it a go. We're going to head down that way and see what the eruption looks like. This has been going on for maybe about 5 or 6 hours now, and pretty impressive eruption so far in terms of the lava output. So Johan, we're ready when you are to go ahead and take off.
All right, thank you very much.
So the idea here, folks, is that we'll fly to the south. There's a little bit of a wind that we'll be fighting coming back, but we'll try to maximize the amount of time we spend down there, get as close as we can with the current restrictions that are in place. It's obviously kind of a crazy, intense situation in Iceland over the last few hours with a lot in play and a lot of moving parts. So we'll just head down that way as soon as we get the drone.
All right.
You ready to go, Johan?
Yeah, I
Okay.
just noticed the battery is not full. I'm going to pop in a full one.
Okay, so just a short little delay here, folks. But the idea here is we'll get you as close as we can. The camera has a really good zoom, and so we should be able to zoom in on different parts of the eruption, see what's going on, and be able to look and see what's happening. And I'll provide my expertise and commentary as always. Some of the things that have played out over the last few hours have been things I've kind of been seeing in terms of the location. Was kind of the place that not just myself but other officials were focused on, and we've seen over the last few hours the fissure system opening up, moving to the south. We've been able to see that on some of the webcams, and so far we don't have lava in Grindavik, so we're hopeful that stays. That's the situation that we can maintain. And the eruptions are probably a little bit further north than a lot of people were thinking, just by maybe a kilometer or two, but that fissure system is 4 kilometers long. So the south end of it is right near Hagafelt, the hill there, and then it extends to the northeast up to Stora Stogafelt. But you can just see that intense curtain of fire off in the distance. There we go. We're off. Thanks, Johan. That's great. And this drone moves pretty quickly. You can see the police barricade there for that road. So we're heading more or less south, but slightly southeast towards the eruption site now. And so we've got this crack in the ground where this eruption is taking place, is throwing out clots of lava. And all the indications are that this lava is very, very hot, probably looking at temperatures upwards of about 1,300 degrees Celsius. It's low viscosity, which means it's very fluid. And that poses a risk when that lava then comes back down and feeds these flows. If it's hot enough and it's low viscosity, it's able to travel a lot further. Now, what we have going for us here in terms of just hazard assessment is the topography around this fissure is pretty low relief. It's mostly, I wouldn't say it's flat, but there's no real steep slopes right there. Where we can run into trouble, of course, is if the lava output continues, that's going to continue to drive the lava further and further away from the active fissure, and then it will extend farther. And so as we get closer, we'll see that there's some of the lava is coming off one side of the fissure towards us, and some is coming off the other side of the fissure, moving away from us to the southeast. And what we'll also probably see here as we get closer is that these vents, some of them may be getting clogged up a little bit, other vents may be taking over. That's pretty typical with these fissure eruptions over time, is that one can sort of dominate and take over while another one wanes a little bit over time. And some of these fountains of lava you're seeing going up into the sky there, I haven't seen any hard numbers, but my estimate is that some of those might be approaching about 100 meters. I wouldn't be surprised if they were shooting up lava even higher. And that's all driven by the gases. These gases have been trapped in this magma chamber for, I guess, months, maybe longer. And so as that gas, which is trapped in the magma, reaches the surface where the pressure is lower, it's able to expand, and that expansion of the gas is what drives the eruption upwards. So there's a nice view zoomed in, and we can see there right down the middle of the frame, you can see a lava flow extending out from the fissures and flowing towards your view there. Kind of looks like it curves off a little bit to the right. We'll see that somewhat intermittently, these fountains will have pulses that are a little bit more explosive. So if you kind of focus on any given one, you might see times when the fountain of lava pushes a lot higher than another, just depending on the amount of magma coming into the system and the gases that it contains. And so it's not a continuous sheet of lava. You can see there's places that are more vigorous, other places where the volcanic activity is a little bit more reduced. But classic eruption, this is the typical type of eruption that we see. The most common eruption in the Reykjanes Peninsula is this type of eruptive behavior, and very similar to what we saw in 2021, 2022, and 2023. This one's much longer, though, than the previous eruptions. This is, last I checked, this was about 4 kilometers in length, which is maybe 4 times as long as the summer 2023 eruption that we had a few months ago. And so it's longer, it has much higher output of magma, so it's pumping a lot more lava to the surface, and so that equates to much longer lava flows that will extend out from it. You can see on the left side there some of the lava moving away from the view. You can also get a really nice view there of the gases rising. The gases are moving away from our view, or more or less to the east or maybe the southeast there. So that would be sulfur dioxide, hydrogen sulfide, carbon dioxide, very acidic gases. And so that's always a hazard. If we had communities or people downstream, that would be an issue. But luckily, this is a situation where we don't. So a nice lava flow there. You can see where it's more yellow, that's going to be your hotter sections of the flow. And then where it's a little more orange, those are parts of the flow that have cooled off quite a bit. And the leading edge of this flow here that Johan's panning around to, you can see it's not moving very fast. So there's good lava supply pumping into it, but it's spreading out so much over this topography that it's just not advancing very quickly. And most of this lava is moving over these older flows that are moss covered, and those mosses will tend to burn off. So you might see a little plume of smoke at the leading edge of that flow there. Looks like some of it's moving out to the east or southeast there, away from our view, and lapping up around some of the hills. That's a great view there from the north end, panning down towards the south. And we're zoomed in so far here that he's, oh, there's some nice fountaining. Yeah, right there. Perfect, Johan. There was just one burst there that really was pretty high. So a little tricky with the zoom, but we can look and see some of that pulsating behavior. Again, the video is really awesome. If you can get up close to these types of eruptions safely, the sound, the audio is equally impressive. Just this pulsating, throbbing kind of jet engine type noise that's really pretty impressive. So there we are looking at that fissure. And what was interesting to me was that the eruption seems to have mimicked or mirrored not exactly where the dike was that we've been focusing on after November 10th, but actually just a little bit, I think, west of there, right along this old section of craters called the Sununukur craters, these craters that had erupted in a similar fashion about 800 or so years ago. So it's pretty neat to see that this eruption taking place today is basically reoccupying that original set of craters. From that view, you can see how expansive the lava field is. This thing's only been going for a few hours, but you can see how much area it encompasses already, which is pretty incredible. And so we're seeing before our eyes this landscape being dramatically transformed as this very long, continuous fissure eruption takes place in this part of Iceland. So a couple of these hills that are blocking the view, these are some of the older volcanoes that erupted under glaciers that built up a larger, more positive relief feature, an actual edifice. Most of the eruptions that have taken place here when there wasn't ice covering this region are similar to what we're seeing here with these fissure eruptions, these very low viscosity lava flows, and very non-explosive as well. So you can see that what looks like a crater, like a cone, that's actually the older cone. That's actually one that erupted 800 years ago, but this new fissure is running right through it, or very close to it anyway. And so it has the appearance as if it's built up a cone that high, when in fact that's actually an older cone that's now just having more mass added to it as the lava kind of piles up on top of it. Yeah, Grindavik would be down that way. So last we heard, yeah, down that way there. Perfect. It was about 2 kilometers away from Grindavik, and it looks like so far we're not seeing a lot of lava flowing to the south towards the town. So that's good news. If we, I think what we'd all like to see is a great eruption that sort of stays in this area. Maybe it goes on for days, a few weeks, whatever. But as long as the lava is not progressing too far to the south, I think the fear was, had the eruption occurred a little further to the south, where there's a little bit more of a slope and you're a little bit closer to town, that you would get lava flowing towards Grindavik much more quickly. And that doesn't seem to be the case. So while we did see the fissure expand to the south, we're not seeing any of that approaching the town as of yet. Nice. You can see how it fans out there. These lava flows develops individual lobes. You might see that bright yellow spot there just on the bottom edge of the flow. So that's a hotter, that probably is carrying the more active channel. Sometimes we call these types of flows here where they're fanning out, we call them lava deltas. And so you'll see pulses of that lava delta build out, but they'll cool off, they'll solidify, and then more lava will break out in some other direction, form a new lobe or channel that then builds the overall aerial extent of the lava flow over time. It'll be great to see, hopefully tomorrow in the light of day, we'll get a good view of this as well. So there's advantages to both. Nighttime eruptions are, probably the most visually spectacular in terms of just, eye-catching, show-stopping kind of experience. But during the day, where we have a little bit more context with the other landforms in the area, we'll get a nice view of the rest of the region and exactly what that looks like. So a little bit more there. You can see some sections of the fissure are very active. We're already starting to see certain sections of the fissure largely inactive or shutting down, if you will, and these other more vigorous areas. So if these vigorous areas can maintain their lava output, going into days, maybe weeks, that should build up a more prominent cone, a more prominent feature in that area. View there, I think that's looking towards Keflavik, I believe, to the west, perhaps. And then, yeah, back to this flow over here. Yeah, you can't see the Blue Lagoon or the power plant, I believe, from here. And none of the lava has flowed towards either of those locations. And so that's good news. And they had finished the power plant berm or wall or dike or whatever you want to call it, that fortification, this past week. And then the one thing I heard they got permission to do just right when this eruption was starting was fill in the gap where the road is. So the road runs north-south through that area, and they needed to fill in that space where the road came through. Otherwise, the lava might have gone around the wall and breached that gap in the wall where the road is there. So by basically building the wall where the road is, that's sort of shutting the road down indefinitely for who knows how long. So a little bit of weather coming in. You can see it's a little bit cloudier there, a little hard to see the hill there, but really getting a sense of the extent of this thing. It'll be interesting to see. Usually the way that this works, at least in Hawaii, and I'm sure in Iceland, the same thing is what we'll want to do is create maps of the present lava flow and then try to make those on a regular basis so we can see the progression of the flow field over time. This will also be good use of thermal cameras or thermal imaging to see where there may be hotter sections of the flow that may break out. Even when the lava crusts over, it can still be molten in the interior, and then it can actually, back up sometimes and actually break out. So you might have a lava flow that looks black and solidified, but it can still have molten lava beneath it that still breaks out and propagates forward. So we'll want to see, hopefully they'll put together some flow maps, maybe once a week or so. We'll have to see what the staffing and manpower is. Also looking at topographic maps and looking where the vents are and the lava output is, you can actually model that and see what the path of least resistance or the lowest point is, and make some estimates as to which way the lava will travel. Of course, the volcano can change all that by changing the focus of its eruption from one vent to another. If one vent shuts down and another vent gets going, then that can change things a little bit. So we're here on the north of the road between Reykjavik and Keflavik. That's about where we've started this drone flight here, is more or less in that region. So are we going to be landing soon, Johan? Or
yes.
Okay.
So I just extended our flight a little bit. We flew backwards, but as you can see, to be close. You have to be close to there to actually see anything.
Right.
From where all very hazy, But you know, I think we got some great shots.
Oh,
I
excellent.
really enjoyed it, John.
Awesome. Right. So that's probably the end of our drone section. And so I'm going to turn the drone part off for now. But we'll see if you guys have any questions for me. I can put up a couple maps here and stick around with you for a little bit longer and see what other information has come through in the last little bit. So let me pull up a map here and maybe just give you another quick overview of what we just did there in case maybe you missed it. Okay, so should be able to see, let's see here. There we go. So here's our map of Iceland. So Johan took off from somewhere in this area here, right along the coast here. This is the road that heads south towards the power plant and Grindavik, but this road's obviously closed. So took off from this area here and flying into this direction. And this old crater system here is largely mimics exactly where the eruption is taking place now. From about this hill here, Stora Stogafelt, down towards Hagafelt. It doesn't extend quite to there, but that's more or less where we're seeing the eruption at, is in that area there. And then we saw a little tongue of that lava coming off the northeast here, kind of towards our view. That would be somewhere in here between these two hills, Silingarfelt and this one. And then on the backside of the fissure, we could see some of the lava flows extending out this way. So again, with this topography being pretty flat overall, it hasn't really moved very far from the vent in terms of horizontal distance, but there's still so much lava coming out that it's, it could change pretty quickly. You could get some of that lava maybe channelized into a little gap between two topographic features. The hope is that it spreads out more this way towards the southeast, maybe laps up against these hills. If it makes it around those hills and heads down this way, that's fine because we don't have any homes or infrastructure or towns down that way. So that would not be a bad deal at all. So no damage to the power plant. As far as we know, the power plant's still generating power. There's been no effect on the geothermal system and the shallow heat source that heats up the groundwater that powers the power plant there. And so far, Grindavik is doing okay. So we'll have to see how especially these flows at the southern end of the fissure system, what happens with those. Are those, right now I think they're probably spreading laterally or perpendicular to the fissure system, more or less. But will those end up turning south and flowing between this shield volcano here? This is an older shield, Vatnaskildi, and Hagafelt, the hill over here, will it actually channelize that? Even that wouldn't be as bad a path. That wouldn't be the worst case for Grindavik, because that lava would most likely end up in this area, and there are a few homes and buildings here, but the bulk of the town is further to the west. I think the worst case scenario is either flows coming down this path over here, just to the east of Hagafelt, or on the west side of it, because all of that would get directed and channeled right into the main part of town. Yeah, so let me see if there are, so that's kind of an overview of what we did there with some of the videos and such. Sounds like Johan was able to take some photos, so I'll see if I can, while we're chatting here, I'll try to get some of those up, and if not, I'll get those up into you in my next update, which might be tomorrow morning, or for some of you, it'll be later today since it's already tomorrow. Let me go back through a few of the questions here and see if I can help address anything. We could also pull up some of the views of the eruption. That would always be nice. So there's the view with the Ruve camera from Seilingarfeld. And so this is looking southeast, where the power plant's behind us from this view. We're on top of the hill, and we're looking down at these fissures. And again, you can see that they're becoming a little more localized. These little clusters are starting to emerge. The furthest south end here looks like it has a lower supply of lava. We can see that there's lava that extended further out. And so again, a lot of times these things might start with a bang and then dissipate a little bit as the fracture system opens up bigger and bigger. And there's only so much magma in the system. You can have all that spread out, but if it's coming out of a larger area in terms of the length of the fissure, then it might not, it can't sustain that for as long. So it's really a question of how much magma, eruptible magma, is down there in that system. So, we're still just seeing the map there. So let me switch views there. Sorry there, folks. Let's try that again. Let's try this one. Okay, so that's not the right one either. Let me get you to the right one. But that's the view looking east from Thorbjorn, from the hill just north of Grindavik. And they've got a nice zoom on that. So you can really see how low viscosity, how fluid-like that lava is in that view right there. Notice the fountains are a lot smaller now. We had initially seen this lava really shooting up pretty high, and now it's just sort of convecting and boiling. This is the behavior we would expect to see over the next few days. Like, is this type of behavior moving forward? Let me see if I can switch over to the right view. So this is the one I want. Let's see, there's that one. Well, it's not showing up for some reason. We'll just stick with this one. Actually, we can probably just switch it here. We'll switch over to this other view here that I was talking about earlier. Sorry for that. Let's switch over to this view. Here we go. Okay, sorry about that. So this is that view I was mentioning earlier with the power plant behind us, looking to the southeast. And if you were to go back and look at some of the if we go back, this probably doesn't go far back enough, but I imagine you can see, oops, that's not what we want. Let's just go live. Yeah, it seems like it's actually moved back a little bit to the north. Like the progression of this fissure system to the south may have regressed a little bit. And we might go through a period of, so it's interesting to kind of see it, yeah, almost in time lapse view. You can see how much more vigorous it looked there. Look how bright that section is. That was maybe what, half an hour ago. And then when we go to live, it's almost similar, but you can see there's diminished quality in terms of the eruptive behavior. So, and that's something you might see moving forward. This magma's coming up, and it does have some pulsating characteristics to it in terms of the gases that are driving it towards the surface. So, anyway, hopefully that was helpful. We will try to get the drone back up later on the 19th, I suppose, which for me is tomorrow. And we'll see what the extent of the lava flow is at that point. Appreciate you watching this evening or this afternoon or whatever time it is where you are. And let's just hope that we get a nice eruption that stays put in this area and there's no threat to Grindavik. So awesome. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.